Hi everybody, it's Katie. Today is episode number 10 of this Little Mermaid journey. Today is the very last design video for this island, and we are going to be working in the top left corner of the island on Ursula's area. That's right, we are tackling the deep underwater ocean theme. On the map, you can see where I'm already standing in the top left corner of the map, but there are three profile characters. We have Ariel, Eric, and Ursula. Ursula's house is all the way up here in the top corner because she is part of our underwater world. Unlike the really bright, vibrant colors of the coral reef area on the other side of the island, this area is really going to focus on darker colors, mostly purple, blue, and black. I want it to look like it's really deep down in the ocean and a little bit creepier than the rest of the island. The very first thing that I need to do before any design goes in place is to get into construction mode and move up cliffs, plateaus that give us a lot of life and direction. So I'm going to take care of that and then I'll be right back here with you. Terraforming cliffs is complete and it's not very interesting to watch, so I went ahead and just turned the camera off so I could get all of it done and taken care of. But if we flip over to the map, you'll be able to see everywhere where I pulled up land. When I'm working on these things, I am just going randomly. There's actually no big greater theory other than making sure there's room to walk in between some of the cliff to make a path. Right now you can see all the little green places on the map because they're pulled up and they're empty, but in order to make them fill in and look like the rest of the island does, we need to cover it in sand. So that is the next step. I'm going to go through and I'm going to cover the top of every single cliff in the path that is the sand type. I continued placing the sand down on top of every single cliff, and now it's time to work on the custom path. I am putting together this really cool black pond pattern, and it's going to go everywhere where the path isn't going to be. This means that it's a little bit more of the outskirts of the area. It's the grass to the area, if you would, and everywhere where the sand is just normal is going to be where I want people to walk to experience the area. We did the same thing over on the other side of the island. If you're familiar with that video, then this will make a little more sense. But to really make this happen, I'm going to start putting patterns down up next to the cliffs and on the cliffs. You can use the Island Designer app to do this, but when I'm putting down patterns where there are so many different components, I find it's easier just to stand in one spot like I'm doing and to set the pattern down. If you reference previous videos I've done, you'll see that it does the spot that I'm on, then forward, to the right, left, side, and the back, and I'm capable of staying in one place. Using this method, you can get a lot of path down really quickly as long as you keep track of where you are. And you can see here where we have the beautiful coral reef pattern just to the right. I want to make sure that we put a lot of really deep, thick blue pattern for this underwater ocean area right next to it because we're going to put down some larger decorations. I want to make sure that people can't necessarily stand exactly where I'm at so that they see both sides at once. The thicker, bigger decorations will go right next to the cliff. That way, they really only experience and see the deep blue part. Let me finish this little corner of the area really quick and then I'll show you what I mean. Enough of the path placed down here, I am going to put down a giant vine. This is a really cool item. I love the way that it gives us a little bit of a creepy vibe. It's also really big, so I can push it up against the cliff to kind of help fill in that gap. I'm going to set another vine down here and you can see just how well that helps block some of the transition. There are other large items that I'm going to be using over here too. Other than the vines, I'm also going to be using the caves, and those have been customized to black. We used the cave in the other area of the island, which is also underwater, but we did a light gray rock, so it looks really friendly and is part of the coral island, whereas over here, it looks a lot more like the creepy vibe I'm going for. I'm going to continue throughout the whole deep dark ocean to put a lot of this beautiful dark pattern down and a lot of the larger items like the cave and the vines. And once I get the big large items in place, I'll be able to work on other things like smaller patterns and smaller items. We made a lot of progress on the island during stream over on Twitch. We put down a lot of that path and the really big perfect items. Now you can see I'm going through and just adding a few flowers. Not as many as we did in the other side, but just here and there to add in really good pops of black and purple color. After getting more of the flowers down, I went back to my storage and I just filled my pockets with all of the items that might look good in the area, and that included things like the shell table customized to purple, the shell stools, and a lot of the glowing moss items. You can also see that I'm using really odd things like the Moroccan footstool in purple. Obviously there wouldn't be a chair in the middle of the ocean, but it has such a really good color and texture that kind of looks like a little bit of a sea urchin on the ocean floor. There are a lot of mushroom items over here that just kind of help bring together this illusion of a lot of really interesting overgrown things just underground and looking really creepy and odd. I added a few kind of unique themed areas into the underwater area, specifically over here on the rocks by the beach. I put together what I hoped to look like a shipwreck had fallen deep under the water, and this allowed me to use a lot of the really cool pirate items. It was fun being able to incorporate some of these things, even some creepy things like the skeletons on the ground, because I think it was probably a very disastrous shipwreck. Also, you can see we put some of the volcanoes over here. They're not meant to be volcanoes. I just really like the way that the gray customization of the dormant volcano worked over here on the rocks. I filled in every single space with some type of pattern, even if it was just blank, but there are a lot of really cool shells and rocks and miscellaneous custom designs that are placed in the area down here that really help give it a lot of beautiful underwater feel. After that, I set about putting down a bunch of really cool little wiggly gyroids and some of the fish models. You will see that as well. Once the speed build here is done, I'll pop back in and give you a tour of the final area. All right, you guys, the island is done. Not just this area, but it was the very last area. It's always really exciting to finish a theme, and I thought we could tour this particular part at nighttime because there are so many beautiful things that light up and look amazing during the dark. I've actually decided to save the dream address for this island during the early 5 a.m. hours when the sky is green and it looks a little bit more like we could be underwater. But you'll see we transition here just straight from the coral reef into the dark colors. I love the way that the little purple gyroids just kind of wiggle and add movement into the area, and I love the beautiful blue mushroom lanterns. The light that they give off is so ethereal and gorgeous. You can see the caves and the ruined stone gate and pillars, the vines. There are so many items that I have used from the 2.0 update. One of those items is this here. This is the glowing moss pond. I love the way that it just magically shines with the purple. On stream, when we put it down, we decided that this is a magical part of the ocean here in the deep water where Ursula probably gets her powers from. As we navigate through the rest of the area, you'll see that things are really snug, very tightly put together, and a lot of that is because we really wanted this to look a little bit busier. The coral reef side, where everything is brighter, there's a little bit more room on the path to walk, but this part is definitely tighter. Once we come around the corner here, you'll see the creepy spider crabs. I actually don't like those very much myself, but they definitely add to the ambiance over here in the deep underwater area. I'm just gonna meander past them real quick and we'll head up the beach area where we have all of the pirate items that are meant to be a little bit of a sunken ship deep underwater, and I think this is also meant to reference the ship that sinks in The Little Mermaid. More of those glowing moss items. The boulder just glows if you click on it, and then we walk over here towards where we have Ursula's house. Right in front of Ursula's house are 3 of the moray eels fish models, and these things are kind of ugly and creepy, but they're meant to resemble the pets that Ursula has, and I think it helps to kind of tell a little bit of the story. I wanted the inside of Ursula's house to just be like a cave, so there's only one room and the house is really small, but you can see I can sit here in the middle of the room, and this is Ursula's throne. Around her is a lot of deep ocean with purple hues. I have added in a bunch of the fire flowers to the room, both to give it movement, but also because they have little eyes and they reminded me of the creepy little worm characters that Ursula turns the mermaids into. There are also a bunch of vines hanging from the ceiling. Again, I wanted this to look like it was Ursula's underwater cave, deep and dark and creepy and like she's up to no good. This was such an amazing island to design and put together. I'm really excited to have finished it because I'm excited about moving on to the new themes, but I love the deep, beautiful, dark colors over here. I love the fish models, right? Having some of those big sharks and whales is definitely unique. I hope you found something useful here and continue creating in this game. Until next time, have the best Animal Crossing day.